Money myths. Banks are a safe place to keep your money. Today's agenda. Is it true? The facts. The problem. What next? So let's get into this video. Okay, is it true? Well, it depends. In most cases, depositing your money into a bank for a period of time is a safer decision than the alternatives like using a home safe or investing money into property or investing money into stocks and shares. These sources, they vary. Sometimes they are volatile. Sometimes they may be risky. They're not necessarily the most stable place like a bank would be. But at the same time, banks are not always a safe place too. So it does depend. I'm not trying to say that banks are 100% safe. And I'm not saying that they're unsafe either, but it really does depend. And these other alternatives, they can be safe and unsafe as well. But let's get further into it. The facts. So did you know, historically, there have been times when people have lost faith in their banks or the banking system, and then huge numbers of people have lined up at the bank to demand their money. Such a bank run can lead to a bank collapsing, a bank failure. And according to the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, over the last 3 years, bank failures were as follows. In 2018, there were 0. In 2019, there were 4. In 2020, there were 4. In 2021, there was 0. And in 2022, there's been 0 so far. Theft and fraud is also another concern with regards to banks and safety, with 43,412 reports of identity theft involving bank fraud in the first quarter of 2022. So as you can see, bank runs, bank failures, theft and fraud, there are some, some issues regarding banks and the safety of your money in the bank. And this is not even to mention, things like bank robberies as well. I didn't bring up any statistics on that at the moment, but bank robberies is another thing that does happen. Banks do get robbed. And, also you've got to be concerned about the fact that most of the time, your money is not even just kept in the bank. There's only a portion of the money kept in the bank. So if you were to ask for, your full funds back, you wouldn't necessarily get your full funds back straight away because it's not normally there. It's normally been loaned out to somebody else. Banks are safer than using a shoebox, of course. What happens if somebody throws out the shoebox? The problem. Like I was saying, being over-reliant on the banks to take care of your money can lead to you becoming overly susceptible to all types of possible threats to your money as a result of using a bank. So, there are a number of different threats that can, put your money at risk. Like we just mentioned some of them earlier, but there are plenty more. And all of these threats, if you have your money in the bank and you're just relying on using that one bank necessarily, you are susceptible to this. So you got to think about what can you do. So what next? So here's what to do next. Now that we have a clear regarding the money, the myth. Only use FDIC insured banks. So these banks are the banks that are insured, or these are American banks, but these banks are insured so that if there was anything to be going wrong with regards to a bank failure or a bank run or, the banks, collapse, then they'll basically help you to get your money back or even provide you with your money back. So by using those banks, you are covering your back a little bit there. Number 2, don't deposit too much money. So, you got to check the insurance there to see how much you would get back. If they say that you can only get back a certain amount of money, then don't put more money than that in the bank. I think it was $250,000 what the FDIC were insuring for, so they can recoup you that, or they can provide you that. So if that was the case, you don't really want to have more than that in the bank. You don't want to have $500,000 or more than that, because then you're not going to be able to recuperate that money. 3, don't become over-reliant on your bank to take care of your money. Like I said, you have to look at other alternatives. In some cases, like we did say, those other choices like putting your money into investments or putting your money into, other sources may be a good way of diversifying some of your money so you don't have all your money just in a bank. Or maybe it's a case of using several banks, not having all your money just tied up in one bank only. Maybe use several banks. or maybe you have your money in a fund. But like I said, this all depends. So the action items for today's video are as follows. Only use FDIC insured banks. Like we mentioned, the banks that can insure you to help make sure that you recuperate your money if there is a bank collapse or failure or run. 2, apply what was learned in today's videos. Apply some of those tactics and techniques that you can use to ensure that you're not overly reliant on the bank, and that you possibly have thought about other alternative places to put your money in case that you can have a little bit of a diversification so you're a bit protected in some way, or maybe use several banks like we said, but don't just be over reliant on maybe one bank. And as usual, like, subscribe and share, leave a comment below, and I'll give you my 2 cents.